Hello, good evening everyone, and welcome to the life mapping webinar. And tonight's subject is finding and following your purpose in life. My name's Mayne. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you. I'm sure that some of you joining already know me, and for those that you don't, let me say a very special welcome if this is the first time you're hearing me present. I go around the world, have been now for more than 25 years, making presentations. This picture here on the screen, taken in Finland last year, I think it was. And I share my various systems for success. Here is my life map. And with a life map, you are creating mental blueprints that affects both your conscious and subconscious mind with a command of who you choose to be. And this will be part of the subject of our conversation tonight. I'm better known for my goal mapping system, and this particular goal map is showing my purpose in life. My purpose is to help lift 7 million lives around the world. It's a purpose I've been working on for a very long time, and will continue probably for the rest of my life. So far, I've reached about 4.5 million people with the various mapping systems that I teach. I've taught them in big businesses, and that continues. People like Microsoft, Siemens, Disney, Coca-Cola, etc. Also within schools, and more than 1 million children from primary school through to university have created goal maps and life maps to aim for a brighter future and increase their grade average. We have sports people using goal mapping and life mapping. This is Kathleen Conyer, our current world champion kickboxer. I've got a message just come up saying that my drive is full. I hope that's going to disappear in a second. Increasingly, goal mapping is in the news, and here an article from CNN about using goal mapping and life mapping to advance your career. One of the most amazing experiences I've had was being invited to New Orleans by Tony Robbins to run both goal mapping and life mapping for his top people for the Platinum Partnership. And here you can see a picture taken when I was in New Orleans at the Mardi Gras. And just before the event, Tony Robbins sent out this special message to all of the people attending. I'll just see if I can bring up the recording for you.
And you may not be familiar with Brian, but Brian's, got written 12 books. We're bringing him because he's probably one of the best people in the world on creating a world-class blueprint for your life. Not just your goals, but what you really want to create to have, sustainable success and momentum in your life. And this whole life mapping process he has is a total blast, and I think you'll find really, really effective.
I've presented for Mr. Robbins in several countries now, in America, in also New Zealand and in Africa, where I've been seminar leader, taking people through the different mapping systems. That's been an ongoing labor of love for many years. My path that has led me into the journey has been a little unusual. Everybody has a story to share, and everybody's story involves changes in their life. There's been a lot of changes in my life. If you've heard me speak before, you'll know that I was born into a traveling funfair family. Here's my grandmother and grandfather, and my aunt, my uncle, my father all sat on the steps of the wagon. This is my father's funfair. This picture taken the year that I was born. And my father could see changes coming for that way of life, and he did what a lot of the more forward-looking funfair people did in those days, which was to take his amusements to the seaside. And here he is, stood outside of the pier at Ventnor, and right at the moment I'm sat in my living room looking out at the sea. And you can see there that I'm almost in the same place that I was years ago when we first come to the Isle of Wight, and my father opened up his amusements on the pier. He couldn't quite give up the travelling life, and so the pattern that I grew up with from the year I was born onwards is that I had several different homes each year, one on the travelling fun fairs, one at the Isle of Wight, and a third home at our winter base by Heathrow Airport. I didn't go to school very much, and I have dyslexia. So I really struggled academically. I left school at 13, which is typical for most travelling children of my generation, with no qualifications, obviously, and barely able to read and write. I joined my father and worked with the family business. I went on to open a disco at the young age of 18 when I was given the license, 19 when I opened the disco. It did become phenomenally successful and had some great years there and become very wealthy, actually, very young, and was in that industry for 13 years. But then a lot of change came. And the main change that came was the death of tourism, with people starting to take their overseas holiday as their main holiday each year, going to the Mediterranean, Spain, Greece, Italy, and not really coming to the Isle of Wight anymore, especially the age group that were my customers, the age group sort of 18 to 30. And so the family business went out of business. The amusement arcades we owned closed down, and the disco closed down, like many of the businesses here on the Isle of Wight and other tourist places around the UK. And at age 29, I found myself in a really tough situation, which was the business had come to an end. It was the only life I'd ever known. I wasn't prepared for anything else. I was massively in debt. My marriage ended under the pressure. My home got repossessed, so I moved in with my parents into my old bedroom. They were also facing bankruptcy and repossession, so it was looking like a really dire time. I had no qualifications and barely able to read and write. It's interesting how when life looks darkest is often just before the light shines and the dawn comes. And the light that came for me was being introduced to personal development. I took a job as a salesperson, not knowing if I could do sales, not really wanting to do it, not feeling it was something I would enjoy. And to be honest, at first I was pretty hopeless at it. But it turned into a great blessing, because in joining the sales team and doing some network marketing, I was introduced to the concept of personal development and self-improvement. It started with this one quote: whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. If you think you can do something, you start to see the way to achieve it. And if you think you can't, well, you don't. And I'd heard this quote before, as I'm sure everybody listening has. The thing that was new for me and made the biggest difference is that I was explaining the science that sits behind the saying. I thought that this was just something people say, like be happy or be positive. I didn't realize there was a science to it that I could learn and I could apply. What I learned was that inside of your brain, you have a great many brain cells. The estimate is we have 100 billion brain cells. Each one of your 100 billion brain cells, or neurons, grows a little wiggly tail to it, which is in blue here, called an axon, and arms or branches that grow out, which are called dendrite. When you have a thought, the thought starts in the middle of the brain cell. It travels out along the arms. It wants to connect with another arm, but there is a little gap that separates all the arms. And here is the key point. If the thought you think is positive in its nature, if that's a positive thought about your life, your situation, the difficulty, the challenge you face in the day, if your thought is positive, you trigger your brain into releasing a chemical called serotonin. Serotonin acts as a neuroconductor. It joins the brain cells together, and it helps your thought to continue on its journey so that you build up a train or pattern thought. More importantly, if that positive thought is about yourself as a person, I like myself, if you're thinking about what is right with you, the serotonin release builds your self-esteem. People with high self-esteem are happy with themselves. They have found peace with themselves. And every time they think a good thought about themselves, they release a little more serotonin and they build their self-esteem a little higher. The more connections we form in our brain, the more we find answers to problems, and the more we release the serotonin, the more that helps us to not only see the solutions to the challenges we face each and every day, but also helps us to find the motivation, the confidence, and the courage to take this new idea we've had, this solution to the challenge, take a brave step forward, and do something with it, put it into action. If, however, the thought you think is negative in its nature, and again, whether that's a negative thought about yourself, your life, the situation you face, the negative impulse stimulates a different neuroreceptor in your brain and releases a different chemical called cortisol. And cortisol is the chemical that gives you the feeling of sadness and depression. It's also a restrictor. So the more negative you become, the more your brain closes down. This is part of your survival instinct. Thousands of years ago, if you were facing danger like a wild animal, as you go into fear, your brain releases cortisol. The cortisol closes your brain down. You become tunnel focused on the thing that you fear, which looks bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're triggered into fight or flight. Either fight that wild animal or flight, run away as fast as you can. And it's actually the process of fighting or running away that burns off the cortisol, triggers the release of serotonin, and helps to rebalance our brain chemistry. This is why people experience that when they exercise, it helps to relieve stress. This is why athletes tell you about the natural high they get when they work out, because we're burning off cortisol and we're triggering serotonin and we're rebalancing our brain and body system. The great challenge in modern life is that the types of dangers we face are not the same as thousands of years ago. There's not a hungry bear very often, or a pack of wild wolves, or that type of danger. We are simply worrying about some future imagined fear, like not having enough money to pay our bills. The brain doesn't know the difference between a real danger and a worry. And when you worry about things in your future, like problems with your relationships, family issues, not having enough money, your brain responds in the same way as if it's real danger and closes down. The problem looks bigger, but because it's not a wild animal or that type of danger, you're not actually running away. When people go into worry about their future, they sit and they start to stress. And that means we're not burning off the cortisol, and it starts to do us a lot of damage. It lowers our immune system. It reduces our capacity to find answers to problems. It causes all sorts of challenges within our immune system and our general well-being. Setting goals in a balanced way helps us to join the brain cells together, form connections between our brain, and as we form connections, we start to build new beliefs. We have new insights, new ideas about how we can make improvements in our life. When I first learned to set goals, the very first goal I focused on was overcoming my learning challenges and teaching myself to read well. It took me 1 year to learn to read well, and once I learned to read well, the thing that I really wanted to read more and more and more was personal development. I learned to speed read, and all the different personal development books that I read were giving me ideas about how I could overcome some of the challenges in my life. I used all of the information and techniques that made sense, and I really believe it's important to have techniques. It's not enough to have an inspiring presentation. That's good, but we also need something we continue to use after the presentation to help us stay with the information, stay positive, and form more and more connections in our brain, build more and more positive beliefs. As I used more of the techniques, so I was able to gradually make improvements within my sales career and earn more income, but in all the other areas of my life, I felt more confident, I was more outgoing, more balanced in myself, and gradually I started to pay off my debt. It actually took me 10 years to pay back the debt and get myself into a good financial situation. And within 2 years, I become so committed to not only learning personal development, but sharing it with others, because people wanted to know how I was achieving the success I was, that I started to make presentations. Just very simple presentations for my colleagues at work at first, but then I had a big break when I was invited to become an employed trainer for the Tony Robbins organization that had set up in London in 1993. And then a year later, I started working also with Stephen Covey, another great American speaker, teaching his program called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the great fascinations for me was how we can use more of our brain. The brain is basically in two halves, a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere. The right side of our brain, which is in color here, is free-flowing and creative and imaginative. And it's known as the leadership brain because it's a side of our brain that has the gift of vision and looks forwards into our life so we can get a picture of where we want to go, what we want to do. The left side of our brain is more the manager brain. It's practical, it's logical, it's strategic, it focuses on parts and detail, and it thinks using words, whereas the right brain is thinking mostly using pictures. And it's this combination of using both sides of our brain, the right brain to look ahead and see where we want to go, and the left brain to effectively manage the journey that makes us effective in all areas of our life. Whatever it is we choose to do, the more we're using the whole of our brain, the more we're able to be at our best. If you look back throughout history at the greatest minds that have ever walked the planet, people like Leonardo da Vinci, you'll find they have this brain balance. Equally brilliant with artistic pursuits like the Mona Lisa, equally brilliant with technical things. He was the man that invented technical drawing and all manner of inventions hundreds and hundreds of years ahead of his time. This same principle of brain balance holds true for all. For me, for you, for the very brilliant people, the more balance we find, the more it helps us to be at our best. The right brain thinking in pictures, the left brain thinking in words, the two of these together helping us to be effective. Gradually over the last 20+ years, I've created a series of mapping techniques that are designed to help you to be positive within your mind, to be uplifted within your heart, to be active and powerful within your actions, and to be connected to the higher part of yourself, your higher being or soul. And as you use the techniques, it helps you to become more, to grow as a person. Life looks very random, and I'm sat here looking out to the sea. It's a beautiful view along the coastline. And there are a lot of waves today. It's a little bit stormy outside with the wind picking up. And of course, all of the waves on the ocean often look random, and life is the same way, that it often looks random. But when you examine more closely, you find that nothing is really random. Just like the waves on the ocean, there are currents and tides and flows in life, currents of creation. And if we study life and we study success, we find that success is not an accident. I'd grown up very much believing that success was largely luck. And when my life crashed, I thought, well, perhaps I've had all my luck and no more is coming. And it was a real blessing to discover personal development and to learn that true lasting success happens on purpose. And if we learn the principles of success, just like the sailors of ancient times, we study the ebb and the flow of the tide and the oceans, we can navigate our way through life towards the distant shores of our desires. What is fundamentally important is that we know where we want to go, that we have a goal, we have an aim, we have a sense of purpose that is important to us. All creation, from a conscious point, starts with the thoughts that we think. Our thoughts, in turn, trigger the chemical release that give us feelings. There isn't a single feeling that we have that just comes by accident. Every feeling is created by a specific neurochemical. Happiness is very much created through serotonin. Love is created through another chemical called oxytocin. What triggers the release of these chemicals from our brain and body is our thoughts or our consciousness. So thought creates feeling, and then the two of these together influence our actions or behavior. If you examine any of your habit patterns, whether they are positive habits or negative habits, you'll find that every habit you have is a combination of thought and feeling and behavior. And these three together start to shape who we are as a person. Our repeated thoughts become beliefs. Our repeated feelings become attitudes. Our repeated behavior becomes set physical habit patterns, all of which shaping ourselves as a person, our character. And then through these aspects of ourselves, we start to influence our life around us. My lead technique of goal mapping is focused on setting intentions and goals. But the real power comes from my life mapping system, which is focused on creating winning attitudes. Because once you are clear on what it is you want to achieve, it will be your attitudes and beliefs that really empower you to take effective actions and move towards the achievement of your goal. My self-mapping program is focused on helping people to become the true them that they are, the true you, and to bring themselves into divine balance with the high self and the low self coming together to form the true self. Life mapping is focused on helping you to be your best as a person, whereas goal mapping is focused on helping you to have your best results in life. With all of my mapping systems, the combination of words and pictures is helping to activate both sides of the brain. The words are for the left side of the brain and our logical understanding, while the imagery is to activate the right side of our brain and to send a powerful command to our subconscious about who we choose to be, what we choose to do, the things that we desire to have. The subconscious mind is enormously powerful, many thousands of times more powerful than your conscious mind. It can do the most amazing things, which the doctors are still completely baffled by, how it can do the things that it does. But the one crucial thing that your subconscious mind cannot do is make choices. It's not able to make judgments about what is good for you or bad for you, right for you, wrong for you, any of those things. It's almost mechanical in its operation. It follows the strongest thought in your conscious mind. Whatever you think about most, whether that's something good or something bad, what you want or what you fear, your subconscious accepts it as the target and starts to move you towards it. Some years ago in my workshop, I had a gentleman who was a motorcycle riding instructor. And he was explaining in the workshop that the big danger for motorcyclists are all of the many potholes we have in the roads. This was about 6 years ago, and we still have the same problem now. I'm seeing the holes in the road regularly, and I'm hearing on the news what a problem it is for many people because it does damage to their suspension or a puncture in their car. But if you're on a motorbike and you hit one of these big holes, it can be absolutely lethal. And several people have died in recent years by hitting these big potholes, and it's thrown them off either their push bike or the motorbike. What they're teaching the motorbike riders and the cyclists is to be aware of the hole but not stare at the hole. Because if you stare at the hole, it becomes the command to your subconscious and you automatically move towards it. Each of us are on a journey in life. There will be many holes as we move along our journey in life. And the key to success is to be aware of the challenge, the hole in your path, but not stare. To stay focused on what it is you desire, where you want to go, what you want to do, and in particular, who you choose to be. It's important to be aware of any things about yourself and character that you believe need improving. But it's fundamentally important to stay focused on what is right with you, to praise yourself, to congratulate yourself, even for small successes, because it's in that way of focusing on what is right with us that we build our self-esteem. And as we build our self-esteem, so we're then able to work on some of the things that we think need improvement about ourselves. So let's look at your winning ways of being, starting with intention. What is your intention? Do you have a goal for being your best? Once we have an intention, the real power starts to come from who we are being as a person. by having a clear intention of where we want to go and what we want to do, and then setting goals directly about who we choose to be, it helps us to do our very best in all of our activity, which leads us to have our intention. This is known as a syntax for success. Be, do, have. Many people, of course, are just focused on the having. They want to have things. A lot of them will work out, well, if I want to have things, I'm going to need to do stuff to have the things. But few people actually go back to the point of power, the green circle, which is who they need to be in terms of their attitude, their belief, their winning ways. So it gives power to what they do and leads them to have their very best results and experience of life. Beingness is your mindset. Doing is skill set. And of course, having is results within yourself, your work, and life. Maybe you've had the experience in your life of driving in your car, and as you're moving through the countryside, the radio is playing, and as you drive along the country road, sometimes you're losing the signal. It's happening often here where I live on the Isle of Wight, and I have a lot of hilly terrain, and as I move along the road, sometimes I lose the reception of the radio station, and there's a distortion that creeps in. My question to you is, how much of an adjustment do you need to make on the radio dial in order to bring through a clear reception? Is it a lot or just a little? It's just the smallest amount. And this is a great analogy for life, because each of us, in a way, are like a radio. And as we move through our life, we're often losing the clear reception, and we're picking up a distortion of negativity from the difficult experiences that we encounter. And often we're carrying that negativity with us like baggage over many years. It takes just the smallest amount of fine tuning to bring our life into a clear reception. And the tuning dial on our human radio is our beliefs. By fine tuning our beliefs, we bring our life into focus. Some years ago, I was at a seminar in London, and I was asked to play a game that I now always play in my life mapping workshop. And I have a life mapping workshop coming on the 5th of May at Heathrow. And the game is, as a child, I always heard. And I pair people up and I make them take turns in saying all of the things they heard when they were growing up. The things they heard from their parents, their grandparents, their school teachers, their brothers, their sisters. And I just keep them talking for a few moments. And then afterwards, I question them on the things that they've heard. And some people are shocked by the things that come out of their mouth. Because when we are very young, we hear a lot of casual comments. And sometimes the comments we hear are very praising and supportive. And sometimes the comments we hear are negative and actually very much limit ourselves. A young child really doesn't have the ability to evaluate clearly what is being said to them. And when a young child hears something like, "You're so stupid, why did you do that?" they're not able to realize it's just a throwaway line, and they start to internalize it and form an inner belief that they are stupid in some way. A child that's told over and over again, "You're so messy, you never tidy up your room, they often grow into an untidy adult with a messy room. Some children, of course, hearing that they're stupid, kick back against it because they know deep down they are not, and they work really, really hard to prove that they are not stupid and they are worthwhile. But in their effort, they often become unbalanced and an overachiever, what is known as type A behavior. Someone who is absolutely driven to achieve one thing after the next thing after the next thing in an effort to prove that they are worthwhile as a person. I've worked with so many people that are in this place, and it's such an amazing thing, and sometimes quite sad, when the person realizes that the only person they ever needed to prove anything to was themselves. Our beliefs are so enormously powerful. We only need to look at the work of placebo, where people are given a dummy pill, a neutral substance, but told it's an amazing wonder cure. And lo and behold, within a short while of taking this neutral substance, they start to show signs of recovery and cure because they've tricked their subconscious into releasing all the different chemicals that helps them to heal themselves. A little while ago, I saw this headline in the newspaper that a placebo, a dummy substance, is just as good as a real operation to fix a bad back. And doctors are discovering more and more now about the power of the subconscious. Of course, many mystics in India and other ancient places have known this around the world for thousands of years, that you can program your subconscious mind to help you to be at your best and help yourself to achieve all manner of amazing things. Once we form our initial beliefs, and most of our initial beliefs will be created when we're very young, around the age of 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Once we have those initial beliefs, then they start to influence the thoughts that we think. Each thought we think will be influenced by beliefs we already hold about ourselves and life. Our thoughts, in turn, triggering the chemicals that create our feelings then shaping our behavior and actions. The combination of thought and feeling and action starts to form our habit patterns, and through our thoughts, feelings, actions, and habits, we influence our results. Some things, of course, will always be random in life. There are many things that happen that we don't expect, but over the long period of years, it is no mistake that our life is a reflection of our thoughts and beliefs, our feelings and attitudes, our behaviors and actions. This cycle is known as a self-actualization cycle. And we all have one operating in all the different areas of our life. The big danger is that if we are unaware of it, as many people are, and we face a result in life that was not what we was expecting and not what we wanted, oftentimes we are reactive. And when we are reactive, it means by its very nature we are acting or reacting based on an old habit pattern, which may not be appropriate to the situation we face. And often this cycle becomes a downward spiral, where an overreaction creates a more negative thought, a more negative feeling, action, etc. And we spiral down into low levels of self-esteem and conflict with other people around us. It's important to remember that any belief you have is simply the established connection between two or more brain cells. That's all a belief is. You can break old brain cell connections and you can create new brain cell connections at any age, at any time. It really starts just through thinking and questioning. If you imagine that any belief you have is like a tabletop, and there are basically two types of belief: empowering belief, which equal I can, and disempowering or limiting beliefs, which equal I can't. If you have a limiting belief about yourself or life or something you wish to achieve, the starting place of reducing it is simply to question it. Here are some great questions to ask yourself. Imagine that your belief being a tabletop, what holds it in place are the legs or the references. If you question these legs or references, you'll find they are rarely built on fact or substance and are just an opinion. Sometimes your own opinion, sometimes somebody else's opinion. So one of the first questions to ask yourself about any limiting belief you have is, where did I get this belief from? Was it my idea to begin with, or was it somebody else's belief about me that I've accepted and taken on board as true? Was this belief true for me when I first picked it up, but is it still true for me now? How much have I changed since that time? Who else do I know that is like me but really can do this thing which I believe I can't? And what you'll find is as you ask these questions of your limiting belief, it starts to pull away the references or legs. And as you pull enough of them away, you collapse your limiting belief and you allow your full potential to rise up and shine through for you to be at your best. So let us look again at this self-actualization cycle and just reduce it all down to one essence and call it self. We have our high self, which is us being our best, and we have a low self, which is us being our worst. And of course, in life, we often are swinging from being introverted sometimes and extroverted at others. When we are on a high, we rise up and we find our shine, and when we're on a low, we fall down into shadow. As we move along our path or line in life, often we are facing the highs and lows, sometimes feeling good, sometimes feeling not so good. The key, I believe, to improving yourself and improving your life is to find a sense of purpose. There are two aspects to the brain as we've already examined. The left brain, which is the animal instinct and moves away from pain, and the right brain, which is our higher humanitarian qualities and moves towards pleasure. The left brain is fear-based, whereas the right brain is love-centered. The left brain is ego-driven, whereas the right brain is heart-led. Now, we absolutely need both. Fear motivation is a fantastic thing in the right situation for a short period. Fear motivation is what stops you from just walking over the edge of a cliff. It's what stops you from walking out in front of fast-moving traffic. It's the feeling sometimes that comes in the form of an intuition when you're being told something or shown something or asked something. And while the words all sound right, you get the feeling that something is wrong. Fear motivation is there to protect you. It's there as a warning signal. But it's meant to be momentary. We are not meant to live our whole life in fear. We are meant to live our life with a sense of purpose and pleasure. Whatever your purpose is in life, it will be something that gives you pleasure. And all the time you're moving towards your purpose, you're moving towards pleasure, you're releasing serotonin, and you're helping to build your self-esteem. And so the balance in life is created by living in your right brain and moving towards pleasure, balanced with your left brain, which is there to protect you in times of danger and help you to get away from pain or negative situations. The more you find this balance, the more you help to improve yourself. Having a sense of purpose gives you great power in life. It's like fuel for an engine. Goals and purpose and motivation are all different aspects of the same basic thing. But here is the distinction. Purpose is like a path that you follow in life. And the reason why having a purpose is like a path is because there is no set end date. It's a journey you're on, a mission that you're on. Maybe for a short time, maybe for a whole lifetime. For 13 years of my life, my purpose was putting on parties in the disco that I owned. That purpose came to an end. I didn't even know it was my purpose. It was just the thing that I was passionate about. And then gradually, as I found personal development, I started to sense there was a new purpose for me. It's an ongoing journey that I've been on for many years, and I will continue with for the rest of my life, teaching people about personal development and how to be their best, feel good about themselves, and achieve their goals. Now, goals are slightly different from a purpose in that a goal always has a date. We may not achieve the goal by the date, but we have a date so that we can form a plan of how we will move towards our goal. If you imagine that your purpose is like a path, then your goals are like the milestones leading you towards the achievement of your purpose. And when you set a goal, you're looking up the path and you're saying, okay, by next month, next year, I want to be up there. I want to make this much progress along my life path towards the achievement of my dreams. Motivation is your reason to make the journey. It's tied in again to your passion and your sense of purpose. Attitude is how you choose to take each step along your path. Vision is the picture of promise you hold for your success if you continue towards your purpose. And if you're unsure of your purpose, always look to your passions, because your passions will be like signposts pointing the way to the path that is your purpose. Within all of my work, I love to combine both ancient wisdom and modern scientific evidence. And I love this quote by Patanjali, 1st to 3rd century BC, so it's a couple of thousand years old, but it's as true today as it was when this was originally scratched into a clay tablet. When you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all of your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations, your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties and talents become alive, and you discover you are a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. When I first learnt to read, I read a book all about purpose, and it was a great book that helped me to understand how important it is to have a sense of purpose, but it didn't help me find my purpose. And I went to my mentor who was teaching me about personal development, and I said to him, "Can you help me find my purpose?" And he said, "Well, not really, only you can do that. But I can suggest some great questions that you ask yourself to help you get clear." And they are simple questions, and they're the questions that I now ask other people when I'm helping them to find their purpose. Here they are. There are 3 levels of purpose, and the first level of purpose we're going to look at is prime purpose, which is about being all you can be. Afterwards, we're going to look at life purpose, which is about finding the thing that makes your heart sing, and then higher purpose, which is about leaving the world a better place. Here are the questions. Number 1, what are you most grateful for in life? It's been a regular practice of mine over many years, and particularly lately, I've been engaged in writing a gratitude list. I count my blessings. I think about those things that I'm most grateful for. And one of the things that's right there at the top of my list always, immediately underneath my children, is having the opportunity to go around the world teaching people about personal development and helping them to find their purpose. Remember, your passions, the things that you're most passionate about, will be like signposts pointing the way to your purpose. Now, if you don't have a pen and paper now, please come back to this afterwards. You'll be able to access the recording and go through these questions again. And my recommendation to you is that you just write down the first answer that comes into your mind and then move on to the next question. What do you most desire to achieve before you die? Have you got a bucket list? Again, what is on that list? What are the things that you are really passionate about? Question number 3, what would you make a stand for? I saw the news just a little while ago this evening before the webinar, and saw that there is a trial going on in Burma, and a really brave guy has stood up and said how corrupt the police are in that country because the trial is involving a couple of foreign journalists. He's put himself at great personal risk by speaking out in court about the corruption within the police force in that country, but he was determined to make a stand for what he believed was right. An earlier news article on the same BBC News was talking about the parents that are making a stand for their 6 children. Another was about the lady that's made a stand because the drug she took when she was pregnant for her epilepsy had damaged her baby that she was pregnant with at that time. He's now 14 with severe learning difficulties, and she's managed to get the law changed on the prescription of drugs for people with epilepsy while they're pregnant. What are you passionate about? Whenever I see very passionate people that have a sense of purpose and I ask them, they are able to clearly tell me why they are passionate about the thing that they do. Question number 4, what are you so passionate about that you would risk failure for? This was a really important question for me. I had very low self-esteem and I had a huge fear of failure. And so to contemplate what is it that I feel so passionate about that I'd be prepared to risk failure for really helped me to get clear and identify my sense of purpose. Question number 5, what makes your heart sing? What is it that really uplifts you, that gives you that glad feeling? Question number 6, what would you want the news to report on you? You've just heard me mention 3 reports just from the news today where I've noticed people making a stand and being reported for that stand within the international news. If you were on the news, what would you want that to be for? What would you want those people to be saying about you? And then number 7, what one great achievement would you dare dream for yourself if you knew you were guaranteed to succeed? So many people dream small because they don't believe they can achieve their dream. But if it was really possible for you to achieve whatever you put your mind to, even if it took you a huge effort in the rest of your life, what would that be? I asked myself these questions every day for many months until I was absolutely clear on my purpose, which was teaching personal development. The strange thing was I actually knew it on the first day that I asked these questions, but I was terrified of the answer. And so I kept asking the questions every day until I could no longer deny to myself what my purpose was, what made my heart sing. And at that point, my whole life changed because I knew that I needed to commit myself and pursue my purpose. It's interesting that when I'm coaching people and working with people, I'm asking them these same questions. And at first, they're telling me they don't know their purpose. But after a little while of working with them, they realize they do know their purpose, but have been blocking themselves because, like me and like so many other people, they're afraid of making changes in their life, of trying something new, of pursuing a sense of purpose that maybe they may not achieve. And so, wherever you are in life, it will be your comfort zone. And the great thing about having a purpose is that it gives us the extra courage and momentum to step outside of our comfort zone into the unknown and move towards the thing that makes our heart sing. And as we do this, the real value that we gain for us is that we grow as a person. This is the unseen and unsung great benefit that comes from any type of purpose and goal setting. It causes us to stretch ourselves and be more. I would have never have faced the fears and done the things that I've done if I hadn't got clear about my sense of purpose. And a real sense of purpose is going to be bigger than you. It's going to touch the lives and improve things for other people in some way. You look at any of the great leaders and teachers that have ever walked the planet, they all had a sense of purpose. The greater our sense of purpose, the more it brings out of us our greatness. And it comes from this balancing brain. The right brain is connected to the heart and helps us to get in touch with a higher sense of purpose. The left brain, logical and practical, helps us make a plan of how we will effectively move forward, take action, and achieve our purpose. When we bring the 3 levels together of being our best, following a life purpose, the thing that makes our heart sing, and leaving the world a better place, we are at our most powerful. And all 3 aspects come together within life mapping and goal mapping. And it's why I'm often running the two techniques back to back within the same workshop, as I have done recently in my Shine workshop in Italy, and I will be doing again in my Shine workshop in the UK coming in September. You can download the life mapping templates from my website. It's a really easy technique. It starts with writing what you believe is your prime purpose, being your absolute best, in the center box of the life mapping mandala. Here is mine. I've got it down to just 2 words: I shine. I shine for me means so much about being my best. If you want, you can add more detail. So here I've got I shine like a diamond. Some people put I shine like a star. Some people will simply write I am being my best. You write in your prime purpose into the center box of the template, and then you ask one simple question 6 times for each of the boxes. And the question is this: which one quality of character, and we're going to start with the top box, which is the mental, which one quality of character, if you lived it a little more each and every day, would most help you to be your best, walk your path in life towards your life purpose, help make the world a better place, and be the best that you can be? There are lots of mental qualities: balance, focus, determination, commitment, patience, self-belief. Choose one. Choose the quality that stands out to you most and write it as an affirmation. An affirmation is always written using personal, positive, and present tense. So you write it like you already have it. Even if you don't, you say it like it's a reality now, so that it becomes a command to your subconscious to trigger the chemical release and help you to be that way. Then on to the next category and box, the emotional, and the same question: which one quality of character? If you developed it a little further, this time qualities of the heart: passion, compassion, love, care. Which one quality, if you developed it further, would most help you to be your best, walk your path, achieve your life purpose, help make the world a better place? If it's passion, you write it, I am passionate. So once again, it's a command to your subconscious. Then on to the physical: which one quality of the body? Health, energy, power, flexibility. Choose one. In my map here, I've got I am vibrant. It's a command I'm giving to myself to help myself be that way a little more each and every day. Then on to the financial: I'm abundant, I'm prosperous. And then the social: lots of qualities here: loving, open, caring, honest. Choose one that feels right to you and write it again like you have it. And then finally the spiritual: peace, confidence, satisfaction. Choose one spiritual quality like faith, and again write it as if it's already a reality. As you create your mandala, you're creating a map of you being your best. And in the life mapping workshop, I guide people through this process. And once they've written the words, I then help them to activate their right brain by turning their written words into pictures. And in the second template that you download from the website or within the attachment, you start to draw in the circles pictures that represent your written words, gradually filling in each of the circles. You don't need to create an elaborate work of art. These are quite nice pictures, but they're also relatively simple pictures. You can have just a tick for yes, or a little heart for love, or a smiley face, or a plus sign for being positive. Nobody else needs to know what your pictures mean. They are there to activate the right side of your brain, and through that, command your subconscious. And here you can see my map. So in the center, I shine. I'm peaceful within my mind. I'm passionate within my heart. I've got a vibrant glow within my body. I've got a flowing balance within my material and financial aspects of my life. I'm an example, a shining torch within my social interactions for others. And spiritually, I feel connected to the universe, the divine spark. I say it to myself once every day, first thing in the morning, because I'm telling myself to be that way. And here are some other maps. This one by a manager at Siemens, and we took many thousands of people, 4,500 people from Siemens through the life mapping program. Here, a manager from Microsoft, and again, 1,500 people from Microsoft UK going through the life mapping program. This is one of my leadership maps about being authentic, wearing my heart on my sleeve, being energetic, inspiring for the team, and authentic, taking off any mask. The ritual is very simple and also very important. Sign your map. Because once you've drawn your map, and maybe it would take you 30 minutes, 40 minutes to do a quick life map, but in that time of drawing your map, you're sending a very powerful command to your subconscious. By signing the map, you increase the command. You give greater power because your signature is like a promise. It's a commitment. Then look at your map once each day. And as you look at the pictures, say the words. And I have my map here in my folder, and it sits next to my old maps. You can see my maps here. And I have my to-do list next to my work goal map. And they're here in my folder because I look at them every day and I take them with me when I'm traveling, and I create new maps. And I probably create maybe 10, 12, sometimes more goal maps every year. But I only have one life map, because once you get to the essence of being your best, that really doesn't change from area of life to another area of life. You being your best is something you take everywhere you go. And I encourage you to share your map with others, because when you show it to another person and you tell other people, look, here's my map of me being my best, you're actually strengthening your belief because you're saying it out loud and you're demonstrating it to others, and that sends an even more powerful command to your subconscious. If you would like me to guide you through this process, please go to my website, goalmapping.com. /events will take you directly to the event page where you can read more about the coming life mapping workshop on the 5th of May. You can also download all of the templates and you'll find other support material there. I do so hope you have enjoyed this webinar this evening. I always love sharing the information, and I like to leave people always with the essence. And it's a very simple thing, but it's incredibly powerful if you can just remember these simple points. Think your best thoughts. That's the starting place. If you think your best thoughts about yourself, I like myself. If you think about what is right with you, if you look in the mirror, look yourself in the eye and say, I like myself, or if you're really brave, I love myself, it triggers the release of the serotonin, which gives you your best feelings. It helps you to raise your self-esteem, to feel really, really good about yourself. The two of these together influence you into taking your best actions, and through the prime law of creation, which is cause and effect, you will invariably live your best life. The mapping systems, goal mapping, life mapping, are there to help remind you of your best thoughts rather than falling into the trap and the pit of thinking you're worse. And so I hope you'll join me for the Life Mapping Workshop, 5th of May, London Heathrow. Once again, you'll find the details on my website, www.goalmapping.com. There's a lot of free materials. If you go to the event page, you can read more about life mapping and book your ticket. Children are coming free, and we have children as young as 8 attending the life mapping workshop, through to teenagers and people that are coming in their retirement years. I wish you all a lovely evening wherever you are and whatever you're doing. God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in this evening. I hope it served. Bye for now.